I. I here means the Robert Arthur Kiyosaki, who is the author of Rich Dad and Poor Dad, offers you the following 10 steps as a process to develop your God driven powers. Powers only you have control over. 1. I need a reason greater than reality. A reason or a purpose, anything you may call. The power of spirit. If you ask most people if they would like to be rich or financially free, they would say yes. But then reality sets in. The road seems too long with too many hills to climb. It is easier to just work for money and hand the excess over to your broker. I once met a young woman who had dreams of swimming for the US Olympic team. The reality was she had to get up every morning at 4 a.m. to swim for 3 hours before going to school. She did not party with her friends on Saturday night. She had to study and keep her grades up just like anyone else. When I asked her what compelled her with such superhuman ambition and sacrifice, she simply said, I do it for myself and the people I love. It is love that gets me over the hurdles. It is the love that gets me over the hurdles and sacrifices. A reason or a purpose is a combination of wants and don't wants. Means if you say a reason, it will have some wants and it will also have some don't wants. When people ask me what my reason or my purpose for wanting to be rich, it is a combination of deep emotional wants and don't wants. I will list a few. First, the don't wants, for they create the wants. First, I will list don't wants, from which will create the wants. I will I will going to tell you. I don't want to work all my life. I don't want what my parents aspired for, which was a job security and a house in the suburbs. I don't like being an employee. I hated that my dad always missed my football games because he was so busy working on his career. I hated it when my dad worked hard all his life and the government took most of what he worked for at his death. He could not even pass on what he worked so hard for when he died. The rich don't do that. They work hard and pass it on to their children. Now the wants. I want to be free to travel the world and live in the lifestyle I love. I want to be young when I when I do this. I want to be young when I do this. I want to simply be free. I want control over my time and my life. I want control over my time and my life. I want money to work for me. Those are my deep seated emotional reasons or purposes. What are yours? If they are not strong enough, then the reality of the road ahead may be greater than your reasons. If if they are not strong enough, then the reality of the road ahead may be greater than your reasons. I have lost money and been set back many times, but it was the deep emotional reasons that kept me standing up and going forward. In other words, you can say it is the deep human spirit that is awakening me from inside to go forward. I wanted to be free by age 40, but it took me until I was 40, 40, 4 question mark is given here, with many learning experiences along the way. As I said, I wish I could say it was easy. It wasn't, but it wasn't hard either. But without a strong reason or purpose, anything in life is hard. As I said, I wish I could say it was easy. It wasn't, but it wasn't harder earlier either. But without a strong reason or aspire or purpose, anything in life is hard. If you don't have a strong reason or purpose, there is no sense reading further. It will sound like too much work. Now, the two I choose daily, the power of choice. The number one is the power of spirit. Number two is the power of choice. The power of choice. That is the main reason people want to live in a free country. We want the power to choose. Financially, with every dollar we get in our hands, we hold the power to choose our future, to be rich, poor, or middle class. Our spending habits reflect who we are. Poor people simply have poor spending habits. The benefit I had as a boy was that I loved playing Monopoly constantly. Nobody told me Monopoly was only for kids, so I just kept playing the game as an adult. I also had a rich dad who pointed out to me the difference between an asset and a liability. So a long time ago, as a little boy, I chose to be rich, and I knew that all I had to do was learn to acquire assets, real, real assets. My best friend Mike had an asset column handed to him, but he still had to choose to learn to keep it. Many rich families lost their assets in the next generation simply because there was no one trained to be a good steward over their assets. Most people choose not to be rich. For 90% of the population, being rich is for 90% of the population, being rich is too much of a hassle. So they invent saying that so they invent saying that so they invent sayings that go, I am not interested in money, or I will never be rich, or I don't have to worry, I will I am still young, or when I make some money, then I will think about my future, or my husband or wife handles the finances. The problem with those statements is they rob the person who chooses to think such thoughts of two things. One is time, which is your most precious asset, and two is learning. One is time, two is learning. These are two important things. Just because you have no money should not be an excuse to not learn. Just because you have no money should not be an excuse to not learn. But that is a choice we all make daily. The choice of what we do with our time. the choice of what we do with our time, our money, and what we put in our heads. That is the power of choice. All of us have choice. I just choose to be rich and I make that choice every day. I just choose to be rich and I make that choice every day. Invest first in education. In reality, the only real asset you have is your mind. The real asset is your mind. The most powerful tool we have domi- dominion over. Just as, just as I said about the power of choice, each of us had each of us has the choice of what we put in our brain once we are old enough. You can watch MTV all day, or read golf magazines, or go to ceramics class, or a class on financial planning. You choose. Most people simply buy investments rather than first invest in learning about investing. A friend of mine who is a rich man, a friend of mine who is a rich woman recently had her apartment burglarized. The thieves took her TV and VCR and left all the books she reads, and we all have that choice. Again, 90% of the population buys TV sets and only about 10% buy books on business or tapes on investments. So, what do? I go to seminars. I like it when they are at least 2 days long because I like to immerse myself in a subject. So, what do? I go to seminars. I like it when they are at least 2 days long because I like to immerse, just like immersing in water, immerse myself in a subject. In 1973, I was watching TV and this guy in 1973, I was watching TV and this guy came on advertising 3-day seminar on how to buy real estate for nothing down. In 93, Robert Kiyosaki joined in the Marine Corps, right? I spent $385 and that course has made me at least $2 million, if not more. But more importantly, it bought me life. I don't have to work for the rest of my life because of that one course. I go to at least two such courses every year. I go to two such courses every year. I love audio tapes. The reason I can rewind quickly. I was listening to a tape by Peter Lynch and he said something I completely disagreed with. Instead of becoming arrogant and critical, I simply pushed rewind and I simply pushed rewind and I listened to that 5 minute stretch of tape at least 25 times. I listened that I listened to that 5 minute stretch of tape at least 20 times, possibly more. But suddenly, by keeping my mind open, I understood why he said what he said. I understood why he said what he said. It was like magic. I felt like I had a window into the mind. I felt like I had a window into the mind. Our brain or our mind is just like a window through which we will see the world. But suddenly, by keeping my mind open, means simply say by keeping my mind open or my window open, I understood why he said what he said. It was like magic. I felt like I had a window into the mind of one of the greatest investors of our time. I gained tremendous depth and insight into the vast resources of his education and experience. The net result, I still have the old way I used to think, and I have Peter's way of looking at the same problem or situation, and I have Peter's way of looking at the same problem or situation. I have two thoughts instead of one. One more way to analyze a problem or trend, and that is priceless. Today I often say, how would Peter Lynch do this? Do this, or Donald Trump, or Warren Buffett, or George Soros. The only way I can access their vast mental power is to be humble enough to read or listen to what they have to say. Is to be humble enough to read or listen to what they have to say. Arrogant or critical people are often people with low self-esteem who are afraid of taking risks. Arrogant means a person who are having ego and ignorance is known as arrogant people. You see, if you learn something new, you are then required to make mistakes in order to fully understand what you have learned. If you learn something new, you are then required to make mistakes in order to fully understand what you have learned. If you have read this far, arrogance is not one of your problems. Arrogant people rarely read or buy tapes. Why should they? They are the center of the universe. If you have read this far, arrogance is not one of your problems. Arrogant people rarely read or buy tapes. Why should they? They are the universe, they are the center of the universe. There are so many intelligent people who argue or defend when a new idea clashes with the way they think. In this case, there is in this case their so-called intelligence combined with arrogancy equals ignorance. In this case, their so-called intelligence combined with arrogancy equals ignorance. Each of us knows people who are highly educated or believe that they are smart, but their balance sheet paints a different picture. A truly intelligent person welcomes new ideas, for new ideas can add the but their balance sheet paints a different picture. A truly intelligent person welcomes new ideas, for new ideas can add to the synergy of their synergy of other accumulated ideas can add to the synergy of other accumulated ideas. Listening is more important than talking. If that was not true, God would not have given us two ears and one mouth. Too many people think with their mouth instead of listening to absorb new ideas and possibilities. They argue instead of asking questions. They argue instead of asking questions. Very, very important statement. They argue instead of questions. I take a long view on my wealth. I do not subscribe to the get rich quick mentality most lottery players or casino gamblers have. I may go in and out of the stocks, but I am long on education. If you want to fly an airplane, I advise taking lessons first. If you want to fly an airplane, I advise taking lessons first. I am always shocked at people who buy stocks or real estate but never invest in their greatest assets. What is their real greatest asset? Their mind. Just because you bought a house or two doesn't make you an expert at real estate. Now 3. Now number 3. Choose friends carefully. The power of association. Till now we have talked about the power of spirit, the power of choice, the power of now, the power of association. First of all, I don't choose my friends by their financial statements. I have friends who have actually taken the woe of poverty, as well as friends who earn millions every year. The point I learn from all of them. The point is, I learn from all of them, and I consciously make the effort to learn from them. Now, I will admit that there are people I have actually sought out because they had money, but I was not after their money. But I was not after their money. I was seeking their knowledge. I was seeking their knowledge. In some cases, these people who had money have become dear friends, but not all. But there is one distinction that I would like to point out. I have noticed that my friends and with money talk about money. I have noticed that my friends with money talk about money, and I do not mean brag. They are interested in the subject. So I learn from them, and they learn from me. My friends, whom I know are in dire straits financially, don't do not like talking about money, business, or investing. They often think it is rude or unintellectual. I also learn from my friends who struggle financially. I find out what not to do. From them, I find out what not to do. I have several friends who have generated over a million. I have several friends who have generated over $1 billion in their short lifetimes. The three of them report the same phenomenon. Their friends who have no money have never come to ask. Their friends who have no money have never come to them to ask them how they did it. But they do come asking for one of two things or both. One, a loan, or two, a job. Their friends who have no money have never come to them to ask them how they did it. but they do come asking for one of the two things, or both: one, a loan, or two, a job. Author is saying that he has some friends who had made billions dollars in the very short lifetime, but the friend but all of the but all of them the three of them had met with the same phenomena after they became rich. Their friends who were struggling, they came to them and asked either two of these, either loan or job or both. Instead of asking how did they did it. A warning: don't listen to poor or frightened people. Don't listen to poor or frightened people. I have such friends and I love them dearly, but they are the chicken littles of life. When it comes to money, especially investments, the sky is always falling. They can always tell you why something won't work. The problem is people listen to them, but people who blindly accept doom and gloom information are also chicken littles. People who blindly accept doom and gloom information are also chicken littles. As that old saying goes, chickens of a feather agree together. As that old saying goes, chickens of a feather agree go together. If you watch CNBC, which is a gold mine of investment information, they often have a panel of so-called experts. One expert will say the market is going to crash, and the other will say it is going to boom. If you are smart, you listen to both. Keep your mind open because both have valid points. Unfortunately, most poor people Unfortunately, most poor people listen to Chicken Little, who are having the psychic, who are having the cynic behavior or attitude. If I have now, I have had more close friends try to talk me out of a deal or an investment. A few years ago, a friend told me he was excited because he found a 6% of deposit. Certificate of deposit means the share certificate. I told him I earn 16% from the state government. The next day, he sent me an article about why my investment was dangerous. I have received 16% for years now, and he still receives 6%. I would say that one of the hardest things about wealth building is to be true to yourself and be willing to not go along with the crowd. For in the market, it is usually the crowd that shows up late and is slaughtered. If a great deal is on the front page, it is too late in most instances. If a great deal is on the front page, it is too late in most instances. Look for a new deal. As we need to say, as surfers, there is always another wave. There is always another wave. People who hurry and catch a wave Late usually are the ones who wipe out. Smart investors don't time markets. If they miss a wave, they search for the next one and get themselves in position. Why this is hard for most investors is because buying what is not popular is frightening to them. Timid investors are like sheep going along with the crowd, or they greed or say desire, or their greed gets them in when wise investors have already taken their profits and moved on. Wise investors buy an investment when it is not popular. They know their profits are made when they buy, not when they sell. They wait patiently. As I said, they do not they do not time the market. Just like a surfer, they get in position for the next big swell. It is all insider trading. There are forms of insider trading that are illegal, and there are forms of insider trading that are legal. But either way, it is insider trading. The only distinction is how far away from the inside are you. The reason you want to have rich friends who are close to the inside is because that is where the money is made. It is made on information. You want to hear about the next boom, get in and get out before the next bust. I am not saying to do it illegally, but the sooner you know, the better your chances are for profits with minimal risk. That is what friends are for, and that is financial intelligence.